Hello guys, good morning. I mean, I've been awake, but still. Isn't this a cool, old, falling apart Navy boot camp sweater? I'm sure they've changed how they look now. The cool square knot. So, I feel much better now that I got some sleep. And thank you for listening to me rambling last night. I just had to get that whole Vans print thing off my mind because sometimes you just need to vent. And now there's something else on my mind. This whole DNA thing has got me going crazy because per the affidavit, guys, the Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA suspect profile left on the button snap of the knife sheath. So just on the button. Weird. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of DNA. Later. You know why later? Because the first time it was ran, they didn't find any. Weird. Right? I think that's super strange. Why is that? Why is that first zero DNA and then suddenly, boom, DNA? And by the way, just on the button, I'm going to show you guys what a K-bar actually looks like, because I feel like if you see it up close and personal, you might ask yourselves more questions. Okay, this is what it looks like here. Yes, please forgive me. This is quite dirty. It's for camping, so I should probably clean it at some point. I am going to remove the knife because there has been no weapon found. The only thing that was found was a sheath. So for now, the knife is irrelevant. We do know that some of the victims were stabbed per the affidavit, but we actually don't know if it was a K-bar that was used. This is what the K-bar looks like. I measured it from here to here, it's 12 inches. From here to the tip, the whole blade is 7 inches. And what's very special about this knife is that there's a beautiful USMC engraving right here. Also the slope here. K-bars have that really pretty slope. You know what's crazy? There's a picture going around in the internet of someone holding a K-bar. It says, per rumors and speculation, of course, this video was on Dylan Mortensen's social media and then deleted as she went private. This pic was taken in the frat house. This is K-bar. That hand, all you can see is this. All you see is from the wrist up, and then the knife. That's, to me, is definitely K-bar. You definitely see the slope here. It's too blurry to see the engraving, but you can just see the shape of that bar. The length, I actually did the math per the hand measurements that I took there. That's a K-bar. 100%, that is a K-bar. And when I look at the anatomy of the hand and the wrist, that looks like a female to me. I tried to zoom into the fingernails, and it does look like the person holding this K-bar has like a nude nail polish. Not clear, like a nude. Again, this is too blurry, so speculation. But the anatomy alone, that's a skinny female wrist, most likely. I don't know who it is. It does not have a face attached. But you can see part of the profile pic, which is interesting. Just cannot see a face. That being said, there is another picture of Dylan with her face in it, holding a big ass knife. A lot of the pictures of her holding that knife have been clipped. They took the knife out, but this is a big ass knife she's holding. It's got to be, I'm going to say at least 9 inches, but maybe more, 12 inches. It's a big knife. Now, why a college girl would be taking pictures with a big ass knife, I have no clue. But it is something to keep in mind, because there are rumors saying that she was very proud and would brag a lot about her knife skills. Again, that's all speculation. All I know is that there is a picture of Dylan Mortensen holding a big ass knife, and she's smiling, smirking almost. Very odd pic. Now, I'm going to show you guys the sheath bar. Reading off the affidavit, this is what it says. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA. Later, because remember, the first lab it was sent to, 0 DNA. 0. Left a single source of male DNA left on the button snap of the knife sheath. Let me show you guys. Okay, this is the button. The knife sheath itself is probably about, it was like 12.5 inches from here to here, tip to end. The button itself here, 1/2 inch. So people are saying, Bryan's stupid. He forgot to clean the inside of the button. Like, duh, of course there's going to be DNA in there. He's a dummy. But when you actually inspect the entire knife sheath, this is what you see. You see metal throughout holding the 2 pieces of leather together. That metal actually goes all the way to the back. The back side, it's very interesting because that part of the metal there has tiny little holes, little crevices. They are quite deep. On top of that, there's this little hole here and the thread. All around. Thread all around. Holes. Perfect holes for DNA to be caught in. Do you really think that if this was Bryan's sheath, there would be no DNA in any of these little crevices? Do you really think that there would be no source of his DNA caught among the tread here? Do you think there would be no DNA inside? This pocket is deep. Do you think there would be no DNA trapped in here? Not to mention in the back of this little metal portion. So you're telling me Bryan potentially cleaned his evidence off, but just forgot the inside button or the snap button. But he was super thorough everywhere else, including the back here. I'm not buying that, because when somebody handles anything, skin will remain. I don't think that he went to clean his sheath bar, left it perfectly intact, 0 DNA, minus that button. Look at all these little places for DNA to get caught. Tiny little holes. Very strange. I don't think so. And people are saying, he is very intelligent, Nika. You are underestimating him. Well, was he intelligent or was he not? So you're saying he cleaned the entire thing, including these little holes, including that little metal hole inside, but didn't clean the main button? No. I'm going to question that. You have to question that. Now, I am pulling up here the notice of filing declaration of Barlow. And guys, 39 pages. I read 39 pages of this declaration today. That's how I spent my Sunday. And I'm proud. Okay. I don't see it as a waste of time. It's like my rest day. So to me, this is oddly relaxing. Just looking at random facts here and legal documents. I don't know why. I like to read. So who is Barlow? I, Barlow, do state and declare I'm attorney licensed to practice law in the state of California, and I have been retained to assist counsel for Bryan Kohberger in the above matter in the capacity of DNA consultant. Ooh, fancy. I have a BS from the University of California, Berkeley in genetics. Ooh, she must be smart. And an MS from Cornell. Ooh, MS, extra smart. Cornell, extra smart. In developmental genetics. Wow. Genetics. That's a hard degree. And on top of that, she got a minor in cell biology and molecular biology. Just for fun, guys. Got those minors on top of that. And on top of that, she got a JD from the University of San Francisco School of Law. Whoa, she's highly educated, sounds highly motivated, sounds very intelligent. Let's see if she has experience. I began consulting on DNA cases as a law student in 94. In 2004, I was hired as a public defender, where for 9 years she focused mostly on DNA cases. She continued to work on those DNA cases in multiple jobs. So basically since 94, she's been working on DNA cases. It also says that she actually worked in federal cases as well. Federal cases, guys, holy. That means she has experience. You've worked in federal cases, you're highly educated. That is a good sign. You know why? In my opinion, people who gravitate towards these science-heavy, math-heavy fields are usually better at being analytical because they are driven by their passion for the subject. In this case, she sounds like she's driven because she likes science. And that's a good sign because hopefully throughout this notice of filing declaration, she's going to give us scientific facts and teach us about the failings of IgG testing. Like I said before, I understand that when most people hear, ooh, DNA, that means he was guilty, that means he was there, usually don't have a scientific background. And that is problematic because there's a disparity between the average person and the science. And people can be duped. People can be led falsely into believing DNA means guilt. And if you read this here, this 39-page document, Vika Barlow, goes into a lot of the science behind this. Not her personal opinion. She backs this with pages and pages of scientific studies, of scientific books. She did a great job, and that to me is outstanding. That to me tells me she's doing her job. You are hired to help educate on this very difficult subject of DNA analysis. What I found very amusing, let me see here. Let's see. Page 12 line 12. The likelihood of getting a coincidental match during the search of a database and selecting a person who matches but is not the perpetrator is high. And then she quotes the book and the page there. The scientific book, by the way. That line alone, if presented at the trial, should raise eyebrows. It's literally telling us the search of the database and selecting a person who matches but is not the perpetrator. Is high. That means that this identification method is not the best method we could be utilizing, right? Then when we go to page 17, is it 17? Let's type in, page 7, line 14. In addition, there has been a history of misuse of these IgG databases by law enforcement, linked to a study. Here, Barlow's also telling us, okay, not only is this method freaking terrible, and it could give you a list of random people who have nothing to do with the crime, but also there's a history of misuse by law enforcement. So far, what I have seen from LE in this case is not good. It's sketchy. We have to keep in mind that this misuse of this IgG database utilized was potentially misused. It's a possibility. And the fact that there's a history of this occurring is problematic. Now we're going to go to page 13. And guys, I can upload this document in the description if you guys want, because if this is the case that interests you, I always urge you guys to read the document yourself, because if you happen to skim it even and you see something that sticks out, let me know. I'll definitely go in there and give you my personal opinion of what I'm reading. Okay, when we go to page 13, line 15, it says, Barlow's words, from the discovery in this case, it appears that at least three, and possibly four profiles were uploaded to the CODIS database prior to Mr. Kohberger being charged. So you're telling me that the case uploaded 4 profiles potentially. Kohberger has requested the discovery of these uploads and any resulting hits or matches to these unknown male profiles. But he's not getting the list right of the people that matched. Isn't that weird? It is weird. You know why? Because in other cases where this has occurred, usually within the first or second request for discovery, these matches are given to the defendant. Even in cases where the lab has said these are non-candidate matches, the defendant does have the right to look at this list. And I think this is the main reason why we are now at the 10th request for discovery. There is likely names that popped up on this list that the prosecution doesn't want out there for all of us to see. Because to me, if you didn't find anyone interesting, why can't the defendant see the list? Why? Why? What are you afraid of? What are you hiding? Who are you hiding? Page 14, line 22, it says, okay, Barlow's talking about a case here that took place in San Francisco County. It's the People versus Hernandez case. This is what happened, and this is what is scary. Again, this is also what I love about science and math. You cannot deviate from numbers. It is what it is. When we look at these numbers, it's very eye-opening. And if these numbers were also released during the trial, I think more people would be questioning, why did you even use this method of DNA analysis? So in this Hernandez case, it says, the lab in the Hernandez case provided to the defendant the profiles of the 5 and 28 individuals from the CODIS searched. Okay, because in this case, one interpretation returned 5 candidates and the second returned 28 candidates, including the defendant. So 28 in the second run and 5. That's 33 people that just popped up in this CODIS search. That's a lot of people. And when LE gets this list of people, what they're supposed to do is go one by one and rule everyone out. But, as Barlow stated, this has often been misused by LE. So, when we go to page 24 here, you see the cover. She's very intelligent. The fact that she uploaded this scientific book, pages of this scientific book to her filing of declaration makes it to me so that whoever's reading this, you understand that, look, this book literally says, Inside the Cell, the Dark Side of Forensic DNA. Aaron E. Murphy. When we go to trying to find these. Page 28. Okay, these are the numbers I was talking about, guys. This snippet is from that forensic Inside the Cell book, Dark Side of Forensic DNA. This is scientific, written by a scientist. These numbers are scary. I don't know how else to put it besides scary, because it says if there were 122 pairwise 9 locus matches in a 65,000 person sized database, how many matches might be found in an 2 million, in a 2 million person, I can't read. It's either 2 or 11. I'm blind. So if you guys go to page 28, let me see. Nope, it's 11. It's 11. How many such matches might be found in the 11 million person national database? It says a back of the envelope calculation suggests that the figure could be as high as 20,000. That is huge. Huge. And that is misleading. That is misleading to the public, because if 4 people if these 4 profiles were uploaded to the database, that means that the matches, the list is probably very long. And they just ruled everyone out just that quickly and just focused all their attention on Bryan Kohberger. That's scary, right? To know that, depending on the size of the database used, that you can get up to 20,000 matches. Imagine if that was you. I always go back to put yourself in his shoes. Put yourself in other people's shoes. If they happen to find some DNA somewhere, they ran it, and 20,000 people popped up, and then out of those 20,000 people, they just picked you and said everybody else, no, they're free. They have nothing to do with this. It is you. I want to know. I do. I would want to know who these 4 people uploaded to this database. Who are they? Not only that, but Barlow, I think she has a sense of humor, because in this page that she uploaded, that she attached to her filing, also says the FBI, which was very heavily involved in this case, by the way, has also used its power as a guardian of the national database to bully states into refusing to conduct similar studies in their own databases. FBI leaders reprimanded the Arizona lab, claiming that disclosing the result violated its agreement with the FBI. They further threatened to cut off access to the national database to any lab that independently conducted their own such studies. Although there was evidence that the threat was intended to scare judges more than lab officials. Wow. So why is the FBI so threatened by the findings in this particular case? Part of me thinks that it's because this calculation with these numbers mean that we cannot have faith in this DNA method. It can't be trusted. Can it be helpful? Yes, but if there's 20,000 people popping for some random piece of DNA found, you better have ruled every single one of those 20,000 if that's the only DNA method that you're utilizing to say, I'm guilty. So, guys, you know, the science is not perfect. Can it be helpful? Yes. The problem is, like I mentioned, when the average person doesn't understand how these methods work, and they say, I mean, I've seen so many people in this case say, well, Nika, it's because it's DNA. I mean, he was obviously there. Was he? Or was he just one of the potential 20,000 people that popped up in the database? Or maybe more. they ran the profiles of potentially 4 people, can you imagine how long that list would be? And you're telling me that out of that huge list, you only found one random guy on there. I think this is part of the reason that the FBI is very, very heavily involved. And it's important to know to question the science. Not because the science is wrong, it's because there's more to it. If you don't understand the full methods and the potential shortcomings of scientific methods, as most of us don't, you're likely to come to a wrong conclusion. So, now that you know, per this scientific book, per Barlow's declaration, and when you crunch the numbers, you have to expand your mind a little bit. You have to expand the possibilities a little bit. I think I'm done. I'm trying to find more. There's so much. I mean, honestly, if it was up to me, I would gift everyone this book, this scientific book here, Inside the Cell, because I think it really goes into the science and it would educate all of us on the dangers of the database. I mean, the chapter of this book is called Dangers of the Database. So we need more convincing evidence. We need high quality evidence. And when we get that, it might be out there. They may have not released all the information to us yet. But this DNA IgG alone, it is not enough for a conviction. It is not. And it's frustrating that so many people have already convicted him as guilty on the DNA alone, when this scientific book here is telling you alone is not enough for a conviction. It shouldn't be. But if it's presented in a misleading manner, then it can cause people to think that this DNA alone is enough, when in reality it's not. So I'm going to go do some more reading. To refresh your memory. Look at all this. You kidding me? And again, speculation. Is it possible? Is it possible? You tell me. Is it possible that DNA was potentially planted? There were 8 hours where only the 2 survivors were in the house after the crimes were committed, from what we know. Oh, and their friend that they called, right? Because they called their friend, but they didn't call the cops until 8 hours later. Is there a possibility that evidence could be planted? What do you think? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments below, because probably not going to sleep tonight, guys. You guys have a good night.